Hey y'all, welcome back to the pimo channel. I really need like a hype intro dope video. I think I've gotten all my crying out, you know. So maybe I need like to have like a hype video at the beginning, like do 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 do, like. But it's kind of hard to make an intro video when you're like not even showing yourself. I'm just like this mystical creature in the background. You have no idea who I am. I could be like one of those Jehovah's Witness spies, and just going to get intel. All right, this is enough. Enough of me being silly. So, I was listening to, two things happened to me today. Okay. So, one, I was listening to Jake on AtlWorldly. And number two, I had a really profound conversation with my friend who is currently disfellowship but is trying to work her way back to become a Jehovah's Witness again. All right. And I'm going to tell you how they relate. So in Jake's video, I'll leave a link of it in the description. But basically, he was talking about why people, when you're trying to tell them, okay, this is not the truth, and let me explain it to you, right? That you'll sit down, you'll go over the 1914 doctrine, you go and you show them the governing body saying, that's presumptuous to say that I am the only spokesman for God's people, and you'll go and you'll break down every scripture possible to show them that this is not the true religion, and they will say, I don't care. It's actually happened to me. I told one of my Jehovah's Witness friends that is active within the congregation I didn't want to be a witness anymore. And she was like, well, you know what? This is what makes me happy right now. And I'm like, all right, well, I'm not even going to go into the 1914 doctrine because I feel like I will be wasting my breath. And I say that because people do not leave something that makes them happy because someone else is experiencing trauma. And we can look at the political system for that. I think about when Trump was elected, right? African American people were saying over and over again that this man was racist before he even got into office. But people were, oh, just give him a chance. You're prejudging him, even though there was historical information of him having properties in New York and in North Jersey, and he was denying people of color access to those properties so that they can rent them and live in those units because they were black. He had a history of doing that. But people still elected him, right? And so fast forward, he becomes president. Then he says off the wall stuff. The blacks, he, he he will find every black entertainer as if black entertainers were the community spokespersons for all of African Americans within the United States. Just stuff that's just like blatant disrespectful stuff started happening, and then people were like, oh, still give him a chance, still give him a chance. Then he just outright just says racist stuff. And people still say Trump is not a bad person. I remember talking to one of my coworkers at an office that I was working at, and she was like, oh, I've never experienced that. I've never seen him do anything racist. And I sat down and I broke down every racist thing that man has did. And she was like, well, I don't see that. Right? People do not care about something that is not personally affecting them. And I think as ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, we have to comprehend that. Think about for yourself, like, what made you decide that I did not want to be a Jehovah's Witness? I guarantee 99.9% guarantee something traumatic happened to you. Now, it doesn't have to be the trauma of being disfellowship, But there's a level of trauma of not fitting in, not feeling like you belong. I mean, there's plenty of kids that go to high school and elementary school and they grow up as adults and they still remember the trauma that they experienced as a child from not fitting in, right? So imagine your religion, right? Something that's supposed to be given to you from God Himself. This is God's organization that's always fed to us, right? So imagine that God said, you don't fit in with this group. That's traumatic, okay? Never mind the fact people are being sexually abused within a congregation. Never mind the fact of people experiencing racism within the congregation, because that does exist, even though people like to ignore it. Never mind the fact that people are emotionally abused, Never mind the fact that the disfellowshipping, those things are traumatic. So when you are going to a person that has never experienced trauma within the congregation or is able and capable of sweeping their trauma under the rug, they are not going to comprehend the fact that 1914 is based on pyramidology. They're not going to care that the governing body member said that it was presumptuous for him to assume that he's God's spokesman. People are not going to care. And I say that because I had a conversation with my friend this morning. Now, like I said, she is currently disfellowshipped. And not to go into a terrible amount of details of what happened to her, but basically before she was married, her husband raped her. Okay? So her husband rapes her. She goes to the elders and she tells the elders, hey, I know that I've committed this sin, but I've committed this sin because I've never really felt safe within my marriage. Because before I was married, my husband raped me. And you know what the elders said to her? They said, I don't believe you. But they end up disfellowshipping her and they end up disfellowshipping her husband for totally different things, right? So during the time that I was going through my stuff, I started researching about the religion. Well, she still was determined to be a Jehovah's Witness. So I didn't get this fellowship, but I mentally had checked out. She got reinstated, okay? So she gets back. And then something else happens because she's still dealing with the trauma that her husband had raped her, okay? She gets disfellowshipped again. And now, me being a pimo, me being physically in, mentally out, here's my opportunity to actually talk to her. And I remember sitting with her and I said, why do you want to be a witness? I said, you do not act like a Jehovah's Witness. Why do you want to be a witness? Because it's the truth. I said to her, well, if it's the truth, why are you disfellowshipped and your husband isn't? She had to sit and she had to think about it. I was like saying to her, really trying to make her see. I'm not saying anything about 1914. I'm not saying anything about the governing body. I'm not saying anything about that. Just using the trauma that she's experienced to make her think deeply about the situation that she's going through. Okay? Now that was a year ago. Okay, I've been pimo for 4 years, and I think as time goes, I'm like, this is actually pretty great, to be pimo. People look at pimo like, oh, why don't you just come out the closet? Like, no, because you actually can be like, it can be like the Underground Railroad. Like, you can actually go in and save people. Like, you can really make people look at life differently. Because I remember her saying that she did not want to be friends with another friend of ours because she was disfellowship as well, but she decided not to go back to the hall. And she was like, oh, I just don't want to be friends with her. And I'm like, well, why don't you want to be friends with her? And she was like, because she just doesn't want to be a Jehovah's Witness anymore. And I'm trying to get back and I don't want to be in that headspace. And I said, but girl, you are not acting like a Jehovah's Witness. So why are you judging your friend for deciding that she did not want to be a witness anymore, and she's living in her truth. And she had to think, and she had to pause. So this is a conversation that happened a year ago. Fast forward to today. She calls me. She says, "Hey, can you believe now her and her husband are divorced. They allowed him to be a pioneer. They put him on the list. So now he's on the pioneer list and gets all the special privileges. He has raped her. He also has an unscriptural divorce with her. So no one's according to the elders, no one has committed any type of form of fornication or adultery, and now he's able to have special privileges within the congregation. And she's upset. And she's like, I don't understand how he's able to serve at a higher level within a congregation and give talks when I told the elders that before we got married, he raped me. How does that happen? And I said to her, because it's not the truth. I literally had this conversation with her today. And you know what she said to me? She said she knew another sister that had a similar issue with her husband, where her husband raped her, and she told the elders about it. And the elders did nothing. And she said she remembered listening to that sister and listening to her story and feeling for her, but not being moved to do anything for her or to make changes in her life because of her story. Because you know what? That was that woman's trauma. That wasn't her trauma. But once she personally experienced trauma within the congregation, she was able to take a step back and reevaluate what religion she was actually in. You cannot take someone that's happy and at peace and then throw dysfunction into their life. People look for clarity. They look for something that's going to bring them joy. And if the Kingdom Hall is bringing them clarity and joy, let them have that. This is why I'm not on a mission to tell my mom like all the stuff that I've learned about why this isn't a true religion. Like I know my mom is happy, right? She is happy. I know that even though I'm not happy with her life decisions, this is the life that she chose to live, right? So what do I what business is in mine to break that happiness away from her? And I think as ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, although we want to save our family and friends, they are not going to get it unless something traumatic or they've experienced some type of hurt or trauma. This is why I encourage people to be pimo and take their time and not rush and not just jump into the water and really think about their decisions. Because if you go from serving Jehovah and being a pioneer and being an elder to just then jumping into the water and saying, I'm going to be a worldly witness, you're actually just being the person or doing the things that they expect you to do, and you're not really giving yourself the opportunity to really talk to your family and really coach them. I sat with my friend and I talked to her and I told her what to go look up and I told her what to go read. And she was like, I'm starting to understand what you're saying. I don't think this is the truth. After 4 freaking years, 4 years. Now imagine if I took that conversation that she said to me last year and cut her off because she said, well, I don't want to be friends with that other girl because she doesn't want to be a witness anymore. No, I didn't do that. I just sat and I listened to her. And I was patient with her because I knew that I was that person before. And I listened to her and I digested what she said. But I am practicing this weird thing called loving people unconditionally. So yeah, what she said hurt my feelings in the moment, but I knew that we all operated in that same mental space, that same mindset. I know those words and those thoughts did not belong to her. They were somebody else's thoughts. So I say all of this is that don't get upset when people say, I don't care if it's not all the truth. You have no idea what people are going through in their life. And I know for myself, I've cried. I would rather had been blinded and not know the information that I've know now 5 or 6 years ago, then go through the amount of pain that I experienced with making this transition outside of the organization. I mean, it was terrible. It was a divorce. It was a death, you know, like hundreds of people that I know that had taken care of me, that I have loved. Like, I will eventually be dead to them. That crap hurts. And I don't want any of my family to experience that feeling. I do want them to know that it's not the real religion, but they got to be ready to digest that information. And if they're not ready, do not force it on them. It is okay. But you know what? Just practice loving people unconditionally. Being someone that person can turn to no matter what. When I find out a friend of mine is disfellowshipped, and because I'm not disfellowshipped and no one doesn't really know my spiritual state right now, I'll send them a text and be like, I don't believe in shunning, so if you need somebody to talk to, you can talk to me. I don't know how long I'm going to get away with this, but I'm getting away with it. But I was able to talk to my friend, and even with my aunt, I was able to talk to her recently and break down some things. And then with my aunt, she went from thinking that I just wanted to be out in the world and have sex and party to like, wait, the governing body said that was presumptuous to say. I'm like, yes, auntie, look what he said. And it took her 3 years to digest what I was actually expressing to her. So relax. I know it's hard to do, but just relax, just breathe. I don't know if I come in this bubble of Jehovah's Witnesses where, like, I'm telling you, if you guys want to make the transition out the truth, move to Jersey, okay? Because everyone is like halfway out the door anyway, so you kind of have a little bit more freeness of speech, like, because I be hearing some stories of some crazy stories, and I'm like, I didn't grow up in that kind of witness world. But yeah, if you want to leave the organization, move to Jersey. But yeah, so that's my response to Jake's video. It's okay that people don't care. It's okay. Let life move the way it's supposed to, and everything I promise, it will work out perfectly the way that life needs to work out. Maybe you are not the person to bring them out of the organization. Maybe that job is meant for somebody else. I still believe in a higher power, so life is going to move the way it's supposed to move. I feel like there's an awakening with like the millennials and my generation about religion in any way. So I do believe that script where the watchtower and organization says that people are going to fall away from religion. Like, that's happening now. Like, people are waking up and they are falling away from religion, period. Because religion is just a form of control, it's a form of manipulation. People are getting away from that. So things are going to happen accordingly. Don't get upset. Just relax. So I don't know. I hope I was able to inspire you in this video. I don't know. Half the time I'm just talking to myself, and then people just happen to leave comments at the bottom of the video. But anyway, like, comment, subscribe, because I'm practicing saying that at the end. Maybe the next video I have a dope intro video. I highly doubt it. I might do like a do like at the end. At the beginning, because I don't know how to do this video stuff. I literally just put the picture up and upload it. But anyway, on to the next video.